Hello, good afternoon to all. Welcome back to this activity in the afternoon. We have two presentations, one of Dr. Mário Norberto. He has a graduation in physics by the Federal University of the Rio Grande do Sul, master's in physics by McGill, doctorate in physics, and today professor assistant of the Rio Grande do Sul University. He has an experience with physics and the condensed matter physics, and he acts with magnetoresistance, magnetization, and new materials. And Dr. João Batista Lanari, Department of the Innovator Technology, coordinator of the Forum of Competitiveness of Nanotechnology, installed in November of 2009. Thank you very much for our speakers. We're going to begin our 30-minute speech with Dr. Norberto and afterwards with Dr. João, and questions and answers will be placed later. And thank you very much. I will sit in the audience. Good afternoon to all. Let's see if we can see the slides here, the PowerPoints. I would like to say that this presentation is more of an apology of a presentation for us, an excuse of a presentation for us to be able to present later on other aspects. What I want to see here briefly, and it is in the page of the Forum of Competitivity. So this information is redundant in a certain way. I will speak more about the issues of the PDP, that is the policies of productive development, that has to do with competitiveness. Competitiveness. I'm the general coordinator of Micro Nanotechnologies. And what we're trying to talk here is about the competitive form in nanotechnology, which was created It was created in 2009 from a demand of the Executive Committee of Nanotechnology, and this has an effective participation in the industry, in the academy, and in the government. We have in our structure in our Ministry of Science and Technology, we have things that are related to different activities that we have that are related to companies, research and development, infrastructure, and so on. In parallel to that is where things are developed in the policy of development and productivity. The actions of the MCT a good part comes from the policies of productive development, and this is the PDP is the new industrial policy in Brazil. So in those programs that mobilize the strategic area, we have the nanotechnology, and we should read what is written here in the goals is that one, the goals is to develop a market niche with the potentiality of competitivity with materials, electronics, pharmaceutical equipment, and nanostructural tissues, and to increase the access to industry and the development of nanotechnology. And this is the vision that you have in the industrial policy. So in our meetings that where a executive committee was formed with members of the government to guide the actions of the PDP in nanotechnology, and they created a series of measures. I'm going to show you one of them, that is of the form of the competitiveness, but I will also show other actions that are within the PDP. So the measure one which we had was to install this form of competitively in nanotechnology, and the work groups are the market, the regulatory mark, and international cooperation, and human resources. I think Dr. Nanari is going to talk more about this aspect. I thought of other things ahead that are the recommendations in the form of competitiveness. In the second measure was to identify companies with the potential of investment in nanotechnology. It's a difficult work to do because we have to try to guess what the company wants to do in the future. And in Brazil is a difficult task to complete. The third measure is to prospect and define technological tendencies in patent literatures and non-patent literatures. What does this mean? It means to make a study which should still be carried out, a study to define the tendencies in the world and what they foresee for Brazil opportunity-wise in the vast field of the nanotechnology. Fourth measure, how do they talk about the development of the national technology? What is most important is how to disseminate in the companies, and also internationally to show internationally what has been done in Brazilian nanotechnology. These two items that I talked about are two items that are the most important ones in the industrial policy. Parallel to that, we know that there is all dissemination in education, in nanotechnology that should be done. There are books and texts that can help disseminate nanotechnology in Brazil. We need to spread this knowledge in all the areas and activities. Measure 5, we have to see the regional necessities and implant laboratories in the north, northeast, and center-west regions. In the National Institute of Science and Technology, there was seen in these regions, north, northeast, and center-west, there are people who work with nanotechnology. So this measure was considered that it was done. The sixth measure was to support the interaction between groups and networks of research and Petrobras in issues related to research R&D in nanotechnology. And this has to do with our big company of oil that we have. What is needed in nanotechnology in the matrix, not only in the matrix, but of knowledge of the company, but also in the productive matrix of the company. What happened is that this was increased, it was amplified, and they created a form of innovation in the state companies, considering all the state companies that could have interest in this subject. So this was carried out in Rio de Janeiro this year with success, and we will discover this throughout the coming years, and we will see what will result of all this. Seventh measure, stimulate the partnership between companies and in institutions of technology sciences for the use of nanotechnology. So this is considered already implemented. There was a call in FINEP in 2009 with 15 millions to make partnerships with the companies. Measure 9, increase the number of companies with a nanotechnological basis. How does one do this? You begin with prospective studies that have been published in the 2008, and the panorama of nanotechnology in the world and in Brazil. They are in the pages of the ABDI. And measures 9, finance and capitalize the companies that are involved in the fabrication of nanotechnological products. This implies in part in the economical subvention that have results for 2008 and 2009, which were small because there wasn't a specific call for nanotechnology. The projects that were approved there were projects of nanotechnology that were submitted to appreciation in a more general call. And another thing that could intervene in this would be the funding of investments, the financing and investments of the BNDES, and these are in the phase of being chosen right now, and it's taking longer than we imagined that it would take. Measure 10. This is to promote the installation of centers of R&D of nano in Brazil. The idea is centers of research that are being installed in many parts of the world and attract them to Brazil, to come to Brazil for the nanoscience, that we already have a quite developed in Brazil. Nanotechnology in Brazil represents, I would say, 10% of what we have in nanosciences. So this is a proposal that is being built between the Ministry of the Foreign and also Commerce sectors. Measure 11, support the post-graduation in the area of nanotechnology. So we have fellowships that were supported by the CNPq edital. We know that there are more than 2,500 graduates with fellowships in nanotechnology. Measure 12, support the action of researchers in the companies. We have the editals with the program of researchers in the company. And then we enter, those were the 12 measures that were established as a goal for the exercise of the PDP that ends this year. As we saw, we were able to achieve a reasonable number of these measures were implemented. Others are being implemented in the form of competitive and nanotechnology. There's a group of regulatory milestone. I'm going to speak quickly about what was discussed in the work group. I was not in all the work groups because I cannot be in all of them at the same time. So many of the things I know here because I was told about them. But basically, one of the things that call the attention in the reports is a suggestion of a algorithm for the classification of a product as nanomaterial, and those are very basic things that have to be done to classify nanomaterials. So then they start making questions. They present different properties of the same material in the atomic form, molecular, or bulk. If it contains nanostructures which are smaller than 1,000 nanometers, and if nano objects are fibers or of a preponderant tissue, if they have more nanoparticles that are insoluble nanoparticles that are smaller than 100 nanometers, if they have soluble nanoparticles or labile, and if these the existing data approve the security and the use of nanoparticles. So here we have many possibilities to, if it is not a nanomaterial, if it doesn't have structures which are smaller than nanomaterial, it is not a nanomaterial. If they are, if it is a non-fiber, or if it is a fiber, it is a, and then you go on to, if you have insoluble particles smaller than 100 nanometers, to see and classify what kind of material you will have. And then you have all kinds of nanomaterials with all the logical sequence of the questions, of these questions. And essentially what we have, Silvia Antero is here in the seminar. You can ask her with more detail. It was she and Andrea Pullman who mounted this scheme. So with the classification of nanomaterials that we see in this chart, according to the various types and questions, and the person answers and determines if the risk is high or if it's low or if it's a medium risk. Then we have the competitive farm with the group who works with the market. All this is in the internet, so there is a series of recommendations which I will pass quickly on to you so that they can be discussed here. So we're going to see, we have to make, we have to coordinate and promote the integrity of nanotechnologies in the country, we have to make more efforts in the trying to see the legal parts and problems with legal parts. We should make changes in the format of the negotiation, the use of the buying power of the state, the purchase power of the state, and which sectors have real conditions of putting the products of nanotechnology in the market, and incentivate the changes in the negotiation formats of intellectual property in nanotechnology, workshops that should be done between the people, the staff of the technical area and the administration, and the participation of agents in the Brazilian market in nanotechnology and the forums, international forums, and participating in the committee, ESO committee, TC 229, and promote regular events of integration. And I will end simply showing to you the composition of the different committees that are of the nanotechnology. So we have the consultative committee, we have the PDP committee, Executive Committee of Nanotechnology, and the Committee of Assessment, which assess the actions of nanotechnology in the ministry. I will thank your patience, and we will reserve more time for the discussion. This is my email. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to all. Thank you for Fiacruz for the invitation in participating in this seminar and the symposium. I work in the external commerce sector in the Innovative Technology Department. And the Competitiveness Forum and Technology Forum is led by us. Many people who take part on this forum that is completing 1 year of existence in a few days. It was installed at the end of last year. Professor Sylvia, Professor Wilson, and Kawe. Many people who make part of it that generated a critical mass of ideas and knowledge. Professor Mário has anticipated a few conclusions and trends. I will tell you the story of the forum, make a few comparisons. The forum was like an essay of governance in Brazil. After all these months of contact and meetings, we were able to see, or at least we're starting to see, and to understand this complex and variable system, and thinking a model with parameters of a governance model for technology, talking of resources and the use of the government machine that encourage companies to work with us. We have like a systemic complementarity. MCT is taking care with promotion, and Forum is the result of the PTP, which is the industrial policy, which was published in May 2008, and nanotechnology is one of the strategic targets of this PTP, Brazilian political industrial policy. This is the PDP governance in general terms. Results obtained in the name of the Competitiveness Forum generates issues of nanotechnologies in PDP. We will talk about this later. An interesting data, I just added it some time ago. You must be aware. ABDE makes a survey that is very interesting. Every 3 months they interview some industrial companies with 500 and more people working, employees. About 1,500 companies in Brazil, and they ask many questions to these companies, the effort regarding the technological innovation they're working, which is the motivation for innovation. These data have been concluded recently. It was disseminated a few weeks ago. These nanotechnological data are eloquent. 11% of the companies declare they're developing projects in nanotechnology, but it's a small number, it's a small figure, but it is significant. It's an ascending curve. 5% use nano or any processor product. 15% use a company that uses nanotechnology in its industry. Nanotechnology entered the company's vocabulary. It is a known term. The media has even saturated it. Somebody made the comments about nano sandwiches at lunchtime. The nano sandwich at the Go flights, for instance, is our Brazilian company. It's like a vulgarization in the media, but we can think about it. It is still in the beginning. The innovation issues that reach companies also affect technologies, but the term is entering. These are some general data, macroeconomical data, which are in the report Professor Osvaldo has performed for BDI. It's available in the BDI site, also at the MEDIC, at the forum, Competitiveness Forum site. The sector will have more than $1 trillion until 2015, and the tissue market that are nanostructured will reach 115 billion until 2020. This industry is occupying 8 million people. Trends of the legal framework, they're turned towards textile companies and fiber synthetics. There's association for that and everything. Electronics as well, it's useless to say. one of equipment and tools. Abimac is not very aware of this sector. Materials, vertiginous growing of investments foreseen from 2012 is a permanent need of investment in in upgrading nanotechnologies in industrialized countries. This is very clear. The expectation of the use of nanotechnology for rationalizing the industrial process. That's very brutal. Microelectronics estimates absurd investments and reduction of costs to promote productivity. It's impressive. From 2012, we will see a graph from the report of MBD. From 2012, the curves will ascend. The graphic eloquence is not enough. There is no doubt that nanotechnology is a needed data. We prefer to use nanotechnologies in plural to avoid this singularization. Nanotechnologies are essential. The first world is very aware of that and will invest a lot in it. Brazil will face the issue of the periphery vocation or not. The tools are there. The moment is important. Value chain, stages. These data have been assessed by Professor Mário. PDP 2010 investment 70 million for private investments. Also, November 2009, the forum was established. All the documents from the forum, which are minutes from discussions with many details. One of the best products of the forum, which is the algorithm proposal of the legal framework. They're all available, the 4 groups that have been mentioned by him. I will only talk a little bit more about GT market recommendations. This GT market group was very active, has got together many times. Dr. Cauê Ribeiro from Embrapa was the leader. This is a very interesting group. We have a very strong and important proposal, which is a national workshop that will be performed in December 2 and 3. It's like a first phase that was accomplished of the GT market. It will be made at Fiesp. The title is Nanotechnology, Expectations of the Brazilian Industry. It will be a scenario where the word will be given to associations of companies that will be able to expose their needs and demands and facing business people, academics, students. We ask the laboratories, network researchers from CAPS, and we ask them to elaborate a little paper of two pages, commenting the functionalities of every institution. They will make a kind of a copybook, summarizing, making a bridge between academic activities and the companies, but always under the company's point of view. This workshop is a result from this first recommendation. Also encouraging companies, associations involved in the subject. One of the proposals in December will be the creation of a nanotechnological companies association. This exists in Japan. There is a group called NBCI, very powerful, more than 200 companies from all kinds of industries, and they have as a focus nanotechnology. They interact internationally in fairs. We as a market group, we understand this governance, this coordinated governance will be needed. Negotiation formats, purchase power use. This has happened. MP 495 in the government has products in nanotechnology, joint workshops. This is the workshop I mentioned. It's like a first performance of our market. Obviously, you're all invited, and I would like your presence here. Actually, I'm here to disseminate this workshop. We're making a big effort to put the subject of nanotechnologies at a level that the business world can appreciate it. The trends of research is important, and the main role will be for the companies. And we hope we can feel there are more than 12 associations in Brazil, and we will have 4 working groups that will work in this workshop, and the event will be divided into by sector, by economic industry, and they will get together during the workshop, and we will be trying to see the needs and the demands of these companies regarding nanotechnology. This workshop is the result of this year of work in the market and this essay of a new governance. The GT regulation network milestone, and was extremely rich. Our discussion, there were representatives of Anvisa, which is an essential agency in this process of standardization. Anvisa became sensitive to it. It will be very important. We are also working with them. Everything I'm saying here in this forum will the forum will be a certain kind of channel with this private sector and the government. Will be the GT regulatory milestone will work to talk to legislator and make legislation projects. Obviously, the forum has a dynamic which is very clear. It's a consequence of actions with government influence. This is how competitiveness forums work in general. Proposers of the regulatory milestone there are not many detailed risk grades and ratings. Transdisciplinarity of sciences, that's another issue. Just one data. So you can see the activity of the forum in May. An important senator, João, who is a doctor, he proposed a tagging of non-technological products, and this project was brought to Congress. It didn't go through because he became a governor and was elected in another state, but it was made very correctly, but he did not remember to consult the interested people researching institutions, forums, and other people. The forum would be the natural contact site. If the project would go further, we will enter. We will we will have our influence on this. But he didn't know this forum existed. He's an important legislator, as you see, was somebody who was prepared as a doctor, as a profession. He has a parameter of public health. He thinks that making a tagging of would not protect the public. In the forum, this is a complicated issue or discussion. It's not evident. This can create a stigma for technological products. It's something complicated, but he made the project. The need to have this discussion at civil society in this forum, such as this forum, is essential. More proposals of the forum of GTA, regulatory milestone, and we are arriving towards the end. The conclusions have been assimilated after a year of existence of this forum, after participating in countless discussions and debates. There is a need of logical articulations and financement, capitalization of companies which do of research institutes. It's an essential governance. We need to finance and to train. So we need a model that foresees that, a model that foresees the financing articulated with training. How to do it is another issue, but it's a basic conclusion. We need a governance model to do that. Allocating resources, financing companies and research institutes. This needs to be also explored. We all know there are many pros and cons. We know we need to advance on it, and we need to consolidate the relationship of the productive sector with ICTs, with private investments, monitoring the regulatory environment, not only in Brazil but also in the world. We need to. It is constantly changing and being threatened. In December, we will do an event with Baibich from textile industry. They're concerned about the impact of the regulatory milestone in Europe. So we have technical barriers, and we're going to deal with external commerce, trade, and the legal framework in Brazil will also be important for the Brazilian consumer. International cooperation, we are organizing it. Probably some non-technological based companies will go to Japan, Baibich and APEC. One is cosmetics, that's the large market in technology industry. This is also an issue that arose in the debate. The establishment of one or more anchor companies with a fixed capital investment that can order the production chain in nanotechnological applications. We can talk about it later. I can give you some more ideas during the forum if you wish later on. We imagine that the aeronautic industry, we have like Embraer, which is a systemic, an anchor company, or other companies with the same nature in the nanotechnology. They could be give an idea, like the BNDES in Brazil could also work with that. Institutionality, establishing an autonomous authority for nanotechnology in Brazil. Let's say this is a proposal that arises in our conversations in informal meetings or also during lunches and talks. You must know more than me, but this is a trend that is observed in several countries. Somehow the technological and scientific border, coupled with the need of investment, the pressure of consumers, the need of governance, this efficient allocation of resources, training of human resources, all this suggests an autonomous authority. This is an institutional proposal, a little bit risky, daring, but should be discussed. China has a powerful organ, China's National Science and Nanotechnology, which is very powerful for China. We have visited this institution. Many Brazilians have visited it, and I asked them which is the interface with companies. And then a guy who was the director of a department was articulated with 840 companies with this department, not to mention the research. So this authority coordinates it, and this is useful under the institutional point of view. And we have strategic resources for market insertion. This is very current in our forum. This strategic course inserting people in the market. Stimulation to the creation of company association could be interesting. The Japanese model is interesting. Especially Baibich and Filipecki are interested in cosmetic techniques. They're interested in nanotechnology for these market strategies. Let's see some advertising about our regulatory milestone. There is a virtual community that has been created in a page. The coordinators are Professor Adriana. This page is available. Any person is welcome to participate and discuss. Our idea is to reduce trips and costs and try to encourage internet and exchanges. This is the university world. We were able to put at the MEDIC, and we're using it in the MEDIC program. This has started a couple of weeks ago, and we're starting to formulate strategies. You're all welcome to visit it. This is what I wanted to tell you. Basically, I wanted to tell you the forum story, what it has generated so far, and invite you all to this workshop on December 2 and 3 at Fiesp in São Paulo for researchers and business people. It will be an important event, and obviously, I would like to invite you to the forum. I know it's far, but the nature of the expression is very clear. The forum is open to all participants. I think many people here have been there. Thank you very much for your kind attention.